gosh, I can't wait until like, cause
Can vote?
no, I don't really care.
Why not?
I'm not that big fan of politics. I mean, I am, but I'm not at the same time. As long as they don't ruin the country and start wars with people that we did nothing to and did nothing to us, I don't care. As long as it doesn't affect me in a major way, I don't care who's.
But it literally affects you in every major way. Okay, so what did you do today?
Went to school, came home,
You
slept.
got so you got to go to school.
Yeah,
How come you were able to go to school, dude?
because you were forced to by law.
Okay, who made those laws and why were they made?
The governor of Texas made, and he had it.
Recently?
Oh no, it's been a law for a while.
Okay,
Some
and why has it been a law for a while? What was it like before the law was made? Do you
kids
know
didn't
what it
have
was
to.
like before that law was made?
No, but I know kids. Kids could miss. I mean, it does affect me. I do see what you're trying to do. It does affect me, but not in a bad or negative way. Well, I don't care as long as it doesn't affect me in a bad or negative way.
So it's okay if it affects other people in a bad or negative way.
No, that's why I said me. Gosh, it's hard to explain. You're getting me in like a loop.
Do you know what kids did before they had to go to school every day?
Work.
Yeah,
Guess.
they worked.
They skipped school. That's what my dad did.
No, they worked. They had to work. They got paid almost nothing. They had to work to support their families. At the age of 6, they would go around in factories and get into the places that the adults couldn't reach. Bang pipes, get the dust off them and whatnot.
Yep, and that's why.
And it was very dangerous too. A lot of kids died doing that sort of work because there were no labor laws. There were no protection for these workers, and you had to work 12-hour days, adults and kids, because there were no labor laws for adults either. There were no unions. There's no upward mobility.
Okay, then let me
There's
say this.
no meritocracy.
As long as the laws are ethical, and
how do you ensure that they stay ethical? By holding politicians to account.
Someone in office that's trustworthy.
Okay, and how do you figure that out? How do you know who's trustworthy and who's not?
News sources that are trustworthy and not
so
biased.
You pay attention to politics, is what you're saying. So
or
you're saying you pay attention to politics and you vote? That's what you're trying to tell me?
Or you leave it up to people who know more than you do and let them. Because you may not be knowledgeable on the subject, and you may do something.
It's your civic duty as a citizen of this country to inform yourself and be knowledgeable.
Yeah.
To say that you leave it up to more people, other people who are more knowledgeable of you, is an abdication of your responsibility and, frankly, lazy, because you're just saying, I'm not willing to be knowledgeable. The fact that you're not knowledgeable has nothing to do with some sort of innate ability to be smart. It's just the fact that you haven't informed yourself.
Yeah.
So it just comes down to not being interested in politics then.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. That's why I'm not. It's because I honestly don't really care about politics.
But I'm literally explaining to you like how it affects every aspect of your life. The food you eat. Like, has it been inspected? Is it safe? Is it going to cause you cancer?
It directly affects. Because they may change something that has already been that affects me. That indirectly affects me through that system. It doesn't affect me directly. Like, to office.
Are your parents employed?
Yeah.
Why?
That doesn't. They do labor laws, and those labor laws then affect my parents.
No, I'm talking about economics now. I'm not talking about labor laws.
Yeah. My mom stays at home. My dad.
Okay.
Mhm.
Why is he employed?
because he's good at what he does. He's
No, that's why he works in the field that he works in. Why is he employed?
He's literally employed because he's knowledgeable in his field and knows what he's doing.
Let me ask a different question. And there's a follow-up to it. First of all, what does he work in?
Mechanical.
Mechanical. Okay. Would he be working if people didn't need his services?
Would he be working if people did not need his services?
Yeah, like
No.
if he works, let's say he works car. I don't know what kind of mechanic you're talking about. Let's say he's a car mechanic.
That's what I said.
Oh, he is a car mechanic.
Yes.
All right,
For
cool.
general.
Cool. So what if people stop having enough money to buy cars? And there are less cars on the road.
But the catch-22 on that is, if no one has enough and no one's buying cars, they're not going to keep jacking the prices. They're going to lower the prices so they get more sales. That's the catch-22. They're going to lower it because then it's going to be a crash. Because that's pretty much what happened, from what I know, or I infer, that happened with the stock market crashes. Stocks kept going up and got more expensive, and then everything because something I'm not sure.
Stocks are not the economy, dude. So
I know, but
you're talking about supply side economics. I'm talking about demand side economics.
Oh, okay.
Like you can certainly some things will be more make more economic sense for people at lower price points, but at some point they just become unaffordable. Like you're saying, lower the price of the cars, but what if the raw materials and the labor of the cars? So okay, so in your example, you say, okay, if people can't afford the cars, they have to lower the price of the cars, right? Where does that extra money come from? Well, it comes in pay cuts. So your dad literally would, in your scenario, your dad makes less money, which affects you directly because he no longer can afford to buy you whatever it is that you're getting for Christmas.
Not entirely true. Insulin costs 28 cents to make. It's really cheap to make.
That has to do with that's a monopoly, dude. That's something else entirely.
Yeah. Cars are exactly the same. They're cheap.
Whoa. No, they're not, because
General Motors owns over 60 brands.
Anyone can make a car.
Yes, but no one's gonna go off and buy.
Not everyone can make insulin. There are regulations in place that really benefit the drug companies.
No, it's not that at all either. Insulin is patented, and so.
Insulin is what now?
Patented, or I can't say it. There's a patent on insulin.
All right, so if that's not the case, explain this to me. Why is insulin so cheap in Canada and other industrialized nations, and it's so expensive here when most products enter a global supply chain and are the same price no matter where you go, like gasoline. The price of gasoline is determined by supply worldwide, not just what's available in America.
Okay, I'm not understanding what you're trying to ask. What you're saying?
I'm saying that using insulin as an example, or any medicine, anything that is highly regulated in its sale, is just a very bad example of the price of a thing. Like the price of a cigarette, like there are taxes and whatnot. Okay, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
Insulin. I'm pretty sure you can get insulin over the counter, like emergency insulin. You can get little packages of it. It's highly regulated to make, but if you do follow all the guidelines, you can mass produce it cheaply.
Yeah, I know.
And you can distribute it worldwide.
Yeah, of course.
You just have to make it by U.S. standards, UK standards, and any other standards that there are, and then you can ship it to any other countries.
Do you know what a monopoly is?
Yes, it's whenever you you own pretty much the entire part of that business. For example,
No, when you have the entire
let me
share of the
get this
marketplace.
out. Let me finish, please.
Sure.
That one guy that owned all the gas stations and all that, that basically was super, super rich, he had a monopoly.
Sure.
He owned all the gas places pretty much. And
in a certain area.
yes.
So you had to buy from him. So he wasn't competing. He had no competition.
He could jack the prices up as high as he wanted.
And people would have to buy. Yeah, that's a monopoly. That's a monopoly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But like that's a whole nother thing. That's not going back to the cars now. That has nothing to do with like demand for cars.
Yeah.
Like no one has a monopoly on cars.
I mean, in certain areas, but for the most part, no. There's no, because what is it?
The issue is like you're talking about a medicine, right?
Yes.
The demand for
Whoa.
something that is literally for people with diabetes. You're talking about something that literally is required for someone to live their life.
Yes.
So no matter what the economic situation is, they have to have that medication.
Yeah.
You're talking about a stable supply that is not affected, by and large, by ups and downs
I see what
in
you're
the
saying
global economy.
I see what you're saying now. Here I can give an example related to cars. This is, like you said, relatable, not worldwide, but this is for a certain area in Texas that my grandparents live in.
Insulin is not for loss of blood, dude. It's for people with diabetes who who no longer have the ability to regulate their blood sugar.
Yeah. Insulin is made in the pancreas, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, it's whenever your pancreas can't create insulin naturally, and you have to get injections. It's for type 1 diabetes. And maybe 2. I'm not sure about 2, but
I believe type 2 is when you acquire it. I think type 1 is when you're born with it. Could be the way around, but I'm pretty sure that's it.
Type 1 is born, type 2 is you can get it.
Mm-hmm. By being fat and eating too much sugar.
Yes, way too much. Okay, back to what I was saying. In this place that I'm talking about in Texas, there's only one place where you can buy a car, and it's a used car lot in the entire town. And this town has a couple 10,000 people, so it's kind of small. There's only one car place that's local. That unless you have some other way to get to somewhere else, and there's not another car place where you can buy cars for another maybe 50 miles.
That's it?
Yeah.
Only 50 miles?
But yeah, how are you supposed to get there if you have no car?
I mean, it's a large purchase. I'm pretty sure you can splurge like $100 or $100, $200 on like a taxi or an Uber or a Lyft if you're planning on spending like 5-10 grand on a car.
Okay, but then that's the problem because this has this.
So basically, so in your scenario.
Literally a farm now.
So let me give you a hypothetical. Okay.
Okay.
Let me give you a hypothetical. Let's say hypothetically, this person who owns the only car lot in town, the used car lot. Okay.
Okay.
Let's say he jacks his price up. $500 above the going rate. Right?
Okay.
$500 above the going rate. In that scenario, if the cost to go somewhere else to buy a car, to get someone to drive you there, is less than $500, then it makes more economic sense to go to the place outside the city to get their car for $100. So despite the fact that this guy has a monopoly in the town, he is still prevented from raising his prices too high because he knows that if he raises his prices too high, people will just go elsewhere because of the cost trade-off.
Hello, Peanut. Okay, yeah, that made sense. Alright. So that makes a lot of sense, actually. I'm trying to think of an example that would actually work. Because there's not really any
I'm well
true,
versed in economics, just so you know.
I know. I'm trying to think of something that's local. Because okay, this is not a monopoly, but could you tell me what this is? Of course, we have a Walmart near us. That Walmart drove two other store businesses out of business. Would that be what would that be considered?
Oh, that they use a they use a they use a business tactic called loss leaders. Or what they do is and this is a very sleazy business tactic, but it's the way businesses are. What would be here's what happens, right? Walmart sells a lot of different stuff, right?
Yes.
Local stores, they sell like maybe they're specialty stores. Maybe once is like a local camera store or a local clothes store.
For example, Walmart has this deal going on of popular chips, for example. Doritos.
That's not gonna.
Let me finish my example.
Go ahead.
This is what like how good the stores were. Like it wasn't like the stores were giving bad deals or anything. It was just Walmart was more well known. Like the Doritos would cost $4, for example, at Walmart, while at this other store it would cost $2.
So it costs cheaper at the other store.
Yes, but no one went to the other store because Walmart was, I don't know, more accessible, easy.
Because people didn't want to go to multiple stores. That's not exactly what I was gonna give you an example of. So that's just a matter of that's just a matter of name recognition and advertising. That's an advertising issue. So what businesses will do is what Walmart will do, it'll open up in a new town, and the town has all these independent stores. Let's say a camera store. You really appreciate you go into the camera store. They have people who really know their stuff. They have a lot of expertise. You can ask them questions that only a real hobbyist would know the answer to. But what Walmart will do to put that store out of business, so they can get all the profit, is very simple. They'll take a hit. They will deliberately lower their prices, lower than they'll lose money on it. They'll lose money on their product, but that's okay. That's okay because let me finish. That's okay because they literally sell more than just cameras, and they make tons of money on other products, and they can keep doing this because the stores are profitable as a whole. They can keep doing this until they drive that other business out of business, because that other business can't afford to lower prices. They can't afford to keep up with Walmart. And then once that other business goes out of business, Walmart will just jack the price right back up the way it was, and then they get all the sales instead of people going to the local business. And so that's how that works.
I don't have a direct example of that, but this was something that was on a but it didn't happen as bad where one of the business went out of business. Low battery. It was between Taco Bell and McDonald's. You remember that time that Taco Bell had that ad for their new breakfast menu? It was Ronald McDonald. It was literally a guy named Ronald McDonald. Like, they got a guy. His legit name was Ronald McDonald.
I don't really watch TV these days, so I wouldn't.
I don't either. I just remember seeing it on an ad for YouTube.
Oh, okay.
But they had all this blah 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 for the first time in ever, and people think it's caused because they released that video for the ever. McDonald's gave out free coffee, like or free item in general. Like you didn't have to buy something else. You could literally walk in and go, "Hey, I'm here for that free coffee," and they would give you a free coffee, no questions asked, on that day.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally 2 days after Taco Bell released that ad. So they took a hit, so that way they could keep their breakfast people from going to Taco Bell.
Right. That's called a loss leader.
Yes. That would relate to what just said.
The economic term for that is a loss leader. Basically, what that is you lose money on a certain product, but it gets people in your store.
Okay.
That's what a loss leader is. That's the technical term for that.
Because then, if you're there to get the free coffee, you might as well already get like a McMuffin.
Exactly. It's called a loss leader.
It was funny because some people actually got the coffee and then went straight over to Taco Bell to drop the menu, which was kind of...
I mean, if the two places are close enough. The other issue there is that then you have to wait in two different lines.
Yeah.
I am sure.
Going, oh, this is new. I want to try this. It was mostly that.
The other thing is that like you may end up getting people who are like, oh, I like this coffee way more than the coffee I normally get. Maybe I'll get my coffee from here from now on. Like you get a few people like that for a little while at least.
That actually happened to me. I was getting chips at a 7-Eleven, and I go, I'm kind of thirsty. I'm in the mood for some coffee, and I bought some coffee. I was like, dang, this is actually pretty good. And yeah, I just kept mixing like flavors like hot chocolate and white mocha. It's pretty good.
Well, there you have it.
Yep.
What were we talking about again?
I have no idea. We went straight from like politics to economics. To
Right. I was trying to give you like economic like reasons why you should vote or why you should be interested in politics and follow it, because literally every aspect of it has every aspect has a impact on your life, whether you realize it or not. And then we went to politics. Like the fact that you get to go to school and play video games is a direct result of. I'm
trying to think of something real quick. I'm not engaged in politics, I should say. Like, I don't keep track of all that and all.
So I personally pay attention to politics and current events at all points in time, at most of the year. But there are those who...
Are you too open to sharing your political, or do you keep those private?
Say again?
Your political views. Do you keep those private?
If you ask me specifically, I will share them. I
just didn't want to like say something that you would like you're not comfortable answering.
No, it's fine. However, there are many people who will inform themselves once as an election comes, right? And that's fine too. If you don't have a lot of time, you should at least start to become informed when an election season rolls around. You should at least do
what
that.
I do. I'm not in politics 24/7, but when it comes towards near an election, I will sit and watch debates and all.
Oh, well, that's great. That's awesome.
That stuff interests me. I like debating, but I'm not like political debating.
Okay. I got a question for you.
Yes.
Do you know who Nancy Pelosi is?
Is that the person that's trying to impeach Trump?
You can have to be more... What do you mean trying to? She succeeded.
Okay, I didn't know that.
President Trump was impeached yesterday.
I did not know that.
Do you know what it means that he got impeached?
Yes, Richard Nixon had that. He didn't really have it to him because he left before he got impeached. He was going to be impeached.
Yeah.
That's still a
I
little bit.
believe that, or yes, I think that's what happened.
He left office before he got impeached.
Yes, he did because he didn't want to lose his pension.
Yes.
That is correct. Because if you get impeached, you lose your pension.
What does pension, by the way?
Say again?
What does a pension mean, by the way? Pension. I can't.
Do you know what a retirement fund is?
Oh, okay.
A pension is like a government pay, like when you quit, like instead of you setting up your own retirement fund and paying money into it. It is something that your job does for you. Your job will give you a monthly salary after you've retired, and
kind of like
it's less common these days.
But for jobs, right?
It's a less common thing for people to have these days because it's very expensive.
Like the president gets one, for example. Like he may give, for example, $100K a year in pension.
Many government positions still have pensions.
I didn't know what it was, but I knew of it. I didn't know what it was called.
What were we talking? Oh, we were talking about how Richard Nixon impeached. Okay, so we were asking, and then we're talking. Okay, so who's Nancy Pelosi?
And I said I knew who she was. She's
the person
that
who
I did.
Okay, but what is her job title?
Isn't she like a governor or something? I'm not sure. That's the only reason.
How would it? Is a governor? Does a governor have the power to get the president impeached?
Is she like a secretary for like Congress or something?
Say again.
Is she like a secretary for Congress or something? Like I said, because of that.
Does a secretary have the power to impeach a president?
No. Is she part of the No, I don't think the electoral.
Which body of government has the power to impeach the president?
Congress.
Correct. Specifically, which house of which house of which part of Congress? The House or the Senate?
House of Senate. Oh, she's the head of Senate.
Very, very close. Head of what part of the Senate?
Dang, I feel like I'm in school right now.
Hey, Eve, what's going on?
Give me the parts of the Senate, and I can tell you which part.
There's the Senate and Congress. Eve is answering the question. How are your finals, Eve? Nancy Pelosi.
I said Congress. I said the head of Congress. So you said no.
No, it's the House of Representatives. House of Representatives, and she's not the head of the House of Representatives. She is the Democratic majority leader of the House Democrats. So she's the leader of the Democrats in the House of Representatives, not the leader of the House of Representatives.
Okay.
Still more to do finals? When do you finish with your finals, Eve? Alright, who's Mitch McConnell?
Glad I finals. I'm so happy about that.
Who's Mitch McConnell?
What?
Who is Mitch McConnell?
I have no idea.
You never heard that name before?
Never.
But you know who Ali A is.
Isn't he that clickbaity YouTuber?
Yeah, I think so. I've never actually seen him. I just keep hearing the name from kids.
I just know it because of iFunny. I just know it because of his intro meme.
Eve knows the answer. The devil. He is the devil. Eve, you know what he is? He's a turtle. He looks like a turtle. That's what he really is.
I just know him because of his intro. That's like a meme.
No, we're talking about Mitch McConnell, not Ali A. Ali A is not the devil. I think we're talking about Mitch McConnell. Pretty sure Mitch McConnell is what we're talking about. Isn't that right, Eve?
Who is Mitch McConnell?
Mitch McConnell is the Senate Majority Leader.
Okay. And that does what? I mean, that's important.
He's the one who leads the Republicans in the Senate, because the Senate,
Okay, so
in the
basically,
Senate,
he
currently
got-
the Republicans hold a majority in the Senate,
Oh, yeah, 'cause
and
Trump-
Democrats
Trump's-
hold a majority in the House of Representatives. Currently.
That's usually how it is, right? It's usually one holds office, one holds
No. No, when Trump was elected for the first 2 years of his presidency,
well, yeah.
Republicans had majorities in both the House and the Senate, which is why rich people got those tax cuts that you have to pay for.
See, I don't understand all that. Like, I don't understand the difference. I know basic fundamental difference between Republican and
So,
what's the other one?
so here's the thing: Republicans
it's-
believe that taxes are bad no matter what situation. At least nowadays they do. They used to believe in reasonable taxes, and they believe that taxes on the rich are bad because taxes on the rich prevent investment, and that if you don't tax the rich, they'll invest more. But
in reality,
here's the thing. Here's the thing. What the heck? Oh my God. Dude. These
What?
pillagers just fell from the sky on me.
Here, let me look at stream. I'm looking down.
Oh my God. You bring me a bucket of milk, please. When you come back here, I need a bucket of milk.
I'm still mining. Okay, I can go somewhere because I actually do need because it's most.
So anyway, Republicans believe that. So the problem with that is that let's say you own a watch factory, right?
Okay.
Let's say you own a watch factory, and every month, and you sell watches.
Of course, what else am I going to sell?
Right. And you get, on average, let's say orders for like, I don't know, 1,000 watches a month. Right. So you have a certain number of employees. You have a certain number of employees.
And I need to pay
you pay money to work for you, so that you can fill your order of 1,000 watches a month.
And depending on how they work, I pay for their full time.
Let's not worry about that. That's not important to this example at the moment. So, let's say suddenly you get a tax cut. Are you going to start making more watches? Are you going to hire more people because you now have more money to make more watches?
Personally, if it were me, I would invest it back into the business, and that does not necessarily mean, yay, I'm gonna make more watches. It mostly means now people have more breathing room, and so I'm not having to worry.
Let me put it another way to you.
Okay.
Let me go to the reverse side of that equation.
Hello?
What if suddenly one month you get a, I'm trying to get a good example here. Let's say there's an economic downturn, right? People can't afford luxury items anymore. They just make do with like looking at their phones. They can't really afford to buy watches. And so suddenly you're starting to get orders for 500 watches a month instead of 1,000.
Yes.
At the same time, the government wants to stimulate the economy and gives you a tax break so that you'll produce more watches.
Yeah.
are you gonna? What do? Like you don't need to make 1,000 watches anymore. You only need to make 500.
Most likely,
You're gonna
would
have
be,
to let go of some employees if you think that this dip in the economy is gonna last for more than a few months. You can't just make more watches and hold them in stock for forever. And so,
I'm pretty
what are
sure
you gonna? The profits just get pocketed and invested. The thing is that like people think supply side economics
because
imagines that if you increase the supply, there will be demand for it. But if people don't have the money
to buy the demand, if they're producing too much and there's too much supply and less, that's whenever they'll start causing problems, right?
right? So let me put it on a more micro level rather than a macro level like that.
Just send it. Give me a basic example, and I can interpret it from there.
Okay. Many Republicans believe that raising the minimum wage is bad. They believe raising the minimum wage is bad because if you increase everyone's wages, the amount of money that people make, that it will just raise prices. And it won't matter in the end, right?
Yeah.
Additionally, they believe that if you raise prices or raise wages, that businesses will no longer be able to afford to pay their workers, and they operate on certain margins, and that they won't be able to continue to operate without raising the prices, and that's why prices go up in the first place. Now, here's the problem with that argument as I see it. The problem with that argument is that, well, first of all, it's true that if you raise everyone's wages, prices will go up. That's absolutely true. But that's not what the minimum wage does. The minimum wage does not raise everyone's wages. It raises the wages of those who make the least.
Yeah.
And the people who make the least amount of money are also the people with the highest propensity to spend. You know what that means? The highest propensity to spend?
More money.
It means they spend a higher percentage of their income on goods and services rather than saving them.
And that's putting more money into circulation.
That stimulates the economy. If you want to stimulate the economy, you want people to spend the money they make, not to save the money they make. Now, having people save the money they make is good. Don't get me wrong. You want some of that too. You want people to be able to save their money to build wealth and to have a buffer against economic hardship and economic downturn. But if you want to stimulate the economy, then you want to give money to people who have a higher propensity to spend. Now, sure, at first, now imagine you have a whole bunch of people who now have a whole lot more money to spend. Let's say you're a restaurant owner, or let's say you like a corner pizza store. You own a corner pizza store.
Yeah.
You have to pay your employees maybe 50 cents to an hour more, $1 more an hour.
Yeah.
And for the first 6 months, of this increase in minimum wage, you might take a small hit, but suddenly you start seeing a lot more people coming into your store and hiring and buying your pizza and eating your product, and you make way more profits than you used to, because now you have more people who have more money who are spending more to buy your product.
Yeah.
Right?
It's more of it's correct me if I'm wrong, because I probably am going to be entirely wrong in this. It kind of the same situation with colleges. It was more of a quick now thing and not later, because colleges is super expensive, but at the time they're like, oh, colleges was super cheap, because at the time they
at the time, what is at the time? What are you talking about?
What is this? 50 years ago.
Okay, sure.
They did something. They lowered the price of colleges at the time and real estate and all that, because at the time they had the money to do it. But then stock market happened and crashed because people were buying so much stuff and didn't have the money to do all that. I'm pretty sure that's what happened, right? Is they didn't have the money to back up what they bought. There's just
You
not
keep
enough
saying
money
they, and
people. When I refer to they, I mean people of the time era.
I'm not sure what you're trying to say. But,
The stock market
chat,
crashed.
help me here.
To go a lot higher. Prices
So the
for
stock
items,
market crash. You're talking about the Great Depression?
yes.
That's because there was because investment banking, and had an unholy marriage with traditional banking, and they operated on the same assets, and so when people were they were operating on this paper thing, same thing that happened with the Great Recession, and this is why we should have never repealed the Glass-Steagall Act, which actually separated these two entities and made them We're going off on a tangent here. Now we're not talking about economics. We're talking about, we're sort of talking about economics, but
Okay, well then we can get back. Basically, all I'm trying to say is colleges is expensive because people did a get rich scheme, but set with knowledge, and that in turn caused everything else to get a lot more expensive because they realized that they could make a lot more supply. And I mean, there was a lot more demand for college, so they could jack up the prices. It's kind of like the insulin where it was needed, and so people would pay the outrageous price because it was a needed thing.
The pressures that have been causing the rise in prices in college are many and varied. There's parents want to see all these cool amenities, the athletic center, the computer, the food and the restaurant and the athletics, the sort of athletic programs, the student life, and all these things cost money. All of these things cost money. And so, parents want all these amenities for their kids, and colleges, private ones, are business, and they need to appeal to. Hold on a second.
How's everyone doing today in chat?
So these for-profit colleges are
straight back into it. Okay.
Hold on. Maddie, would you like to say hi to me in the chat? Come say hello. Come say hello. Hello. Hi. So these for-profit colleges are simply responding to a demand from their customers. Now we can talk all day about why their customers are, what economic pressures have sort of led to a class of citizens who want this sort of thing for their kids and have the money to afford it. But that is one of the biggest reasons why proper colleges are so expensive these days. You know, never mind. We don't need to go off on that tangent. What were we talking about before colleges? Oh, we were talking about the minimum wage.
I was looking to say that Kenny guy.
Oh no. We were talking about minimum wage before that.
Oh yeah, I was talking about like, well, but I asked who that guy was. And you were at that. So
Right.
who is this like Kenny guy, whatever his name?
So.
The devil. What's his name?
Oh, not Kenny. Mitch McConnell.
Richard McConnell. That's what it was.
No, Mitch McConnell, not Richard McConnell.
McConnell.
It'd be funny if his name was Richard, because then we could just call him Dick.
Yeah. So like, you said he's the head of representatives.
No, So Nancy Pelosi is the House Majority
Republican,
Leader.
Republicans.
Republican.
Right.
Senate Majority Leader.
Yes. Okay. I said representatives, but I meant Republican.
So yeah, minimum wage, good. Oh right, that's what I was going with that. So yes, raising the minimum wage will cause short-term losses for a business, but long-term gains. Hold on 1 second. But here's the rub. If you raise the minimum wage too quickly and too much, then these businesses won't be able to absorb the short-term losses, and it will go out of business before they can reap the benefits of the long-term increase in demand for their product. There's also something to be said about fixed costs, right? So if you have, in this example, with your pizza store owner, and you see an increase in demand, yeah, sure, you have to pay your workers a little bit more, but let's imagine like you have X number of employees around the shop at any given point in time, right? Let's say you see like an increase of like 150% increase in foot traffic in your store, right? Now there's just, no matter what, you're going to be spending the same amount of money on electricity. You got to keep the lights on. You're going to be paying the same amount of money on rent, whether there are people in your store or not. And now you have employees who are spending less time just standing around because there aren't people in the store. You still have to pay them for their time.
You know,
they're just spending more time. Like at some point, with a certain amount of increase in business, you'll have to hire more people, or add more ovens, or at some point, someone else will just open up a store next to you because there's that much demand for pizza. But there's a certain amount of fixed costs involved that, you pay a little bit extra to your employees. If everyone did, there'd be a huge economic benefit.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
What? Okay. This is a hypothetical, but I've thought of this for a while now.
I need that milk, by the way.
Oh, I totally forgot about that. Oh, what would happen if, say, for example, all the people, trying to think of a good way. Every single farmer in the world, okay, I mean, all got around a table and goes, you know what, we're tired of being paid so little, and just inherently refuse to sell their wares at such a cheap price, and they made the price of water $2 to $20. What would happen?
So,
if like everyone refused.
have you ever heard of OPEC?
No.
So OPEC is a group of oil-producing nations who got around the table, and collectively, I think they controlled about 90% of the world's oil production at the time. And they just decided, hey, we're not going to sell our oil for this cheap anymore. We're going to cut our production so we can make more money. And actually worked for a while. Until, you know, there were a few things that made them fall apart. There was one country, I think it was Brazil, I want to say, was the one who was sort of cheating. They were turning around like, yeah, we're producing at this level, we're producing at this level, but they weren't actually producing at that level. So they had everyone else cut the production with themselves so they could reap the increasing costs.
Where would I find a bucket?
Bucket? Oh,
That's a...
check in the unsortables box.
Okay. Because I thought about that because, like, in a theoretical of 100% of everyone did that, it'd be kind of hard, like, buy fruit and stuff like that.
No, well, so what happens there is that you now have an enormous economic pressure for governments and individual other businesses to step in and say, hey, we can produce this at this price. Or you have a bunch of government programs designed to hire people or to encourage people to change their fields of their profession. There are lots of different things that could happen in such a situation.
I may have given a bad...
There's also just the fact that, you know, what happens what happens in the short run is people pay more for food.
Like,
what will happen in the short run is people will pay more for food. It's that simple. But at the same time, you've now just created a big opening in the market for other people to come in and say, hey, I can produce this cheaper. I'm going to compete with these guys. And so that's what happens in the long run.
well, like,
There's now
like
a
I
huge...
said, I used a bad example. For example, you have a limited resource. For example, kind of like that OPEC thing you were telling me about.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of that one group saying, yeah, here, we'll sell it back to you guys cheaper, just like they were. Because there's only a limited amount of oil. No one can just produce oil. I mean, you can find oil and use it up, but majority of all the huge oil places are already privately owned, right?
Yes and no. We're talking about oil specifically. We're talking about oil specifically. Yes. However, when you're assuming that oil is irreplaceable. You can't. There's no alternative to oil, and there are alternatives to oil.
I mean, yeah, there's alternatives to oil.
There's coal. There's natural gas. There's solar. At its core.
So people would just end up with
coal is an energy. We're talking about the energy sector, and there are many different sources of energy.
Well, I'm not just talking about a specific thing. I'm talking about, like, in general. If someone were to raise the prices of that,
so
like
for oil, for instance, if you raise the price of oil, you then increase the demand for similar products. Sorry, what?
I'm not asking for like that for a specific example. I'm asking in general. If they were to do that, the worst thing that would happen is they would just switch to a more better, or that was bad, a more cost-efficient thing. They would just disregard that in general.
Let me give you an example.
Okay.
Let's say all the soybean farmers. Let's say, no, that's a bad example. Let's say all the rice farmers in the world got together and decided, oh, this is the wrong axe, and decided we're going to jack up the price of our rice.
Yeah.
What happens as a result is you end up with people switching to wheat. They buy more wheat products. That's it. That's what happens. Similar alternatives.
Yeah, I keep
And
giving you bad.
that will cause the price of wheat to go up. Sure, I can't use this axe anymore. I need to go repair my axe, but I can't because I don't have a
Right now,
milk.
come to you. I'm literally right above you, and it's now falling onto you.
Wait, is that?
I threw it down there.
Did it catch on something?
Shouldn't it have?
I see.
You want me to jump down there with it?
I don't see it at all.
It's
Oh, there
down
it is.
there.
I see it. I see it. I see it.
Like I'm saying, like for something that is, for example, so there's something that's irreplaceable that they can't just be used as insulin. Let's just use insulin again. Everyone just jacked up the prices of insulin because insulin is no one can reproduce insulin.
Anyone can. It's really easy to make insulin, dude.
I know, but for I mean, yes and no, because if it's easy to make insulin, a company would have already made cheaper insulin, and it would be.
No, they're regular. So here's the thing. That's what monopolies are for. We already know what happens when you jack up the price of insulin too high, and there are no alternatives. People die.
Yeah, and people are dying. They can't get it.
They ration it. You have people who go. There's some people who live close enough to Canada that they will make trips to Canada to buy insulin there.
Yeah. Yes, but then what happens to people that live in Texas can't buy insulin from Canada?
They vote. This is why you
Voting
vote.
has no.
We've come full circle, dude. This is
They
why
are
you
not.
vote.
They're not. There's not a monopoly. You can't monetize it at all. They are their own independent companies selling it out independently. The government has no influence on that because that's another amendment. Is governments will not monetize the economy or something like that.
Wait, what are you talking about in Texas exactly?
No, it's in the 10 amendments. You cannot. The government cannot say you have to sell this at this price.
Sure. I don't know that that's in there, but that's fine. That's not even the issue. We're talking about regulation in terms of
yes,
certifying. We're talking about certifying things safe or unsafe.
Oh,
right?
I like regulating prices.
No, I'm not talking about regulating prices or not. I'm saying that a certain number of companies have gotten a monopoly on the market, not on prices. There's no. You're talking about a too much regulation, or not too much regulation. Rather, what am I trying to say? Bad regulation really is what I'm trying to say. In regards to insulin,
like, because insulin is
the issue is that only a few. We're talking about licensing issues. There are a few companies in the U.S. that have the ability to sell.
Yes.
In the U.S.
And
because
what they do,
because they're the only ones who are deemed safe. No, not because they have it. They're the only ones who are allowed to make it.
Yes.
And because they have a monopoly, they can set whatever prices they want. Basically, what happened is you used to have a bunch of companies. Wait, what?
And that's what I was trying to tell you, that it was a monopoly, but you kept telling me, you kept saying something, I don't know why, but I thought you were saying, like, no, it's not a monopoly.
Oh, it's a monopoly because of the way things have happened. One company bought up all the other companies that made insulin, and once that happened, they jacked up the price. Wait, what?
Boom.
The... No, 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 no.
Are you good?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm definitely not. No, I messed something up. I messed something up really bad. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Shoot, 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 shoot. I was trying to fix a filter while... Where is it? 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 Okay. Stop. 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 God. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you were asking what happens when...
Because they jacked the prices up $400 something for like one vial of insulin.
Well, I guess we're gonna find out what happens, right?
Yeah, that is true.
We're gonna find out what happens. There's gonna be some. So one of the things that it's been floating around as an idea is, and it's a really big one, is to allow the import, to change the laws to allow people to buy the medications from Canada. Just certify, like say, we trust, have the American government say, we trust the Canadians' medical like safe medication certification program. We trust
all it would need to be do is
all the we trust that the way the Canadians conduct themselves in making sure the medications that are safe, we trust that. And
it wouldn't even
in doing that, that would solve a lot of the problems, because then you have all these people buying Canadian insulin at incredibly cheap prices, and no one's gonna buy it for 100 anymore. So these guys now have to have to. That legislation has been introduced, in fact, by Bernie Sanders multiple times. So if you know someone that has diabetes and you care about them, or if you just care about people in general and dislike the idea that people are dying because they can't afford their insulin, then you vote. You vote for people who you think you trust to pass legislation that will do something about this monopoly that the drug companies have, who are charging exorbitant prices for life-saving medications that are cheap and easy to produce.
You know, this is totally off topic and not politics. I mean, in a way, yes, but no. There's a book I read in a school. It's called The House of the Scorpion.
You're cutting in and out. You're cutting in and out.
Have you ever read the book The House of the Scorpion?
I have not.
Okay, it's basically...
You're cutting in and out again. All I heard was it's basically. Now you're just cut out entirely.
Okay, how's that now?
Yes, much better.
Okay, basically...
I gotta go to sleep like half an hour ago, by the way.
Okay, here, I'll finish it so quick.
But go ahead, real quick.
Mexico and America signed a treaty saying all drugs are legal, but they can only be made and sold in this strip of land between Mexico and the USA. So basically, they got all drugs and all people who own drugs and put them all.
This is hypothetical.
Yes, it's in a hypothetical world, in like post utopia. And basically, everyone complied and said, "Okay, this is a great deal because I can legally sell it, and people can legally buy it." Sorry, in this little strip of and bring it into the U.S.
Okay, to answer your question, are you familiar with prohibition? Do they teach you about prohibition in school today these days?
Is it like it's anti something, right? I'm thinking I want to say alcohol, but I'm not.
You're correct.
Okay, it's anti-alcohol.
Okay. What do you mean by anti-alcohol? What was prohibition?
Sorry, what?
What was prohibition?
When they wanted to prohibit alcohol, I guess.
When they wanted to? Who's they?
From what I learned in history lessons, is people who have suffered from alcoholics, or they are an alcoholic themselves and realize how addicting it is, and they want to better future generations, and they say we might as well ban this now because it's such an addictive substance.
Okay, but what was prohibition though? You're talking about a belief system. I'm talking about a thing that happened.
Oh, riots, protests. Is that what you're talking about?
Which led up to prohibition, sure.
Yes.
What was prohibition itself?
And then I have no idea.
Prohibition was a time when America actually banned alcohol. We banned alcohol. We made it illegal.
Oh.
This happened in the 1920s and the early 1910s and 1920s.
I remember learning about this because then people would have like secret like little back rooms where you'd say like you enter a code word, like in spy movies. Yes.
Speakeasies.
And you could go in there and you could like, drink alcohol and all that. And, like, you'd get busted and all that. Yeah. Our teacher showed us videos of old like speakeasy places.
Yeah.
My history teacher
Prohibition was an abject failure. Prohibition was an abject failure. And the failure of prohibition and the lessons that and what we can learn from prohibition have implications for this day. You know,
yeah.
We talk about it's a big part of the case for legalizing marijuana.
Yeah.
It's a big case for treating addiction like a mental illness instead of a crime. For making, there are a lot of people who believe that we should make all drugs legal to consume.
Yeah, I think that's kind of stupid.
Yeah, but
like, reason.
So here's the thing, right? Like, in every state thus far that has legalized marijuana, consumption and use of marijuana has gone down.
Yeah.
Not up.
Because more people they feel safer going through the right channels to get it done.
Well, I mean, you can theorize why all you want. There's no conclusive data on the reasoning behind the numbers. We just know that the numbers are what they are.
Well, it's easy to tell why the numbers are going up because more people would rather do it legally. And
no, the numbers are going down.
Oh, yeah. If people get caught...
no, the number of people are using less marijuana now that it's legal.
Oh, Oh,
They're using it less.
no, it's kind of like a sense of, hey, don't do that. It's bad. People will be like, oh, I'm gonna do it anyway just to spite you. It's gonna be
Something
that's what
like that, yes. There's a certain allure of doing the forbidden. There's
Yeah.
less. There was a
That's all. Now
a
that's
table
psychology.
here. There's the other issue, another big factor in making is accessibility, right? When you
Accessibility.
make something that is addictive, like alcohol, like not marijuana, but when you make an illicit drug illegal, you're not going to stop people from using it. Let me put it the other way. When you make a mind-altering drug legal, what you do is you take away that black market. You no longer have a an underground economy of drug dealers and drug smugglers.
Yeah.
Bringing in these products and selling them to anyone who's willing to pay. Now you have a legal product which can be sold in only specific places and only to people of a certain age. The quality is much better. So you've basically put these small-time drug dealers out of business,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so now that the drug is legal, now you can say, I'm only going to sell it to people of this age, instead of having no control over that whatsoever, right? And
Yeah.
so that is a big factor, at least most people believe that is a big factor in why making marijuana legal has led to a decrease in marijuana use in every state that has made it legal.
It's also kind of the factor of because, okay, this may be a bad example, but something that what is it? Something because this is about to say what you were saying about if it's readily available, people are less likely to go, oh, I'm gonna need to do this, this,
That
and this with
that's
it.
that's purely speculation. There's no proof of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it
It,
it's a
it's
reason.
kind of
It's not an unreasonable assumption to make. There's no
yeah.
proof of that, but there certainly is a lot of evidence for the second case that I just made.
It's kind of like the theory that uh, you don't look at an ant and go, oh, I need to mess with this ant. You just pass right by it. You don't really care. It's kind of the same thing because it used to be such a huge bad thing you could do, but now it's legal. There's no really reason to do it to look bad, so people just skip over it.
What does an ant have to do with the price of cheese in France?
What?
What do ants have to do with the price of cheese in France?
You keep cutting out what?
What do ants have to do with the price of cheese in France?
You have cheese in France? What?
It's not a riddle. It's just a saying. Like when you can't figure out what something has to do with anything, you say, what does that have to
Oh,
do with
that.
the price of cheese in France?
Uh,
Because nothing
yeah,
has anything to do with the price of cheese in France.
I know, I know. I was saying it's like the theory of
I've never
when
heard
you.
that theory in my life. You know what? This has
It
been a fantastic conversation, and I would love having more of these conversations, especially
we
on
need.
stream. But I have extended my bedtime for way too long simply because I've been enjoying myself. Um, I really should go to sleep because I have work tomorrow. Thank you all so much for coming by and listening to me babble on about the economy and politics, and play Minecraft, I guess. was part of that. You know, watching me mine stone. That was entertaining, right?
I mean, we got the port
Not.
working.
We did get the portcullis. You know what? Let's show everybody the portcullis one last time, since I'm right by it. Let's show everyone the portcullis one last time before I head out. Let's take a look at this real quick, because this was. We had like several different people try to make this work until we finally figured it out.
Yeah.
And this is in fact the whole reason that we were mining stone, because we're gonna extend this height of the wall along the entire perimeter of this village. But here it is.
Finally got it done. Yeah.
And there it is. Finally starting to figure out how redstone works, you know?
Slowly but surely.
Alright. Well,
It's
it's so
still...
sad. I just gotta do it one more time because it's so satisfying.
Yeah, I really
just knowing
like
how because you know what, I tried copying someone else's design off of YouTube. I tried several different designs, and you know what finally got this thing to work? I hopped into Dustin's creative world and figured out how to make it work using my own design. I made it myself. I made it from scratch. There were a lot of things I didn't understand about how sticky pistons work, about how you know, and I went through it and I figured out how these things worked, and I then came up with a design that I understood myself. I wasn't just copying a design and hoped that it worked. I understood what I was doing. Finally got it done. All right. Well, thank you all so much for. Did you just leave the portcullis open? Hold on, let me just close it one more time for the people who are watching.
Oh yeah, I was trying to show you.
What were you trying to show me?
Okay. It was lagging now, but look how smooth it goes down. Like, it actually looks like it's lowering.
Yes, that's what's so awesome about it.
That's what I love. And it actually looks like it's opening.
Yeah, and the next one we build, isn't going to be using gravel at all. It'll be stone down here. And we're going to have a few of them around the wall. So, alright, well thank you so much for joining us tonight, for taking a look at my realm, keeping us company. This is probably the best Minecraft stream I've ever had. 7 people watching, thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. I have work tomorrow, and I probably shouldn't be awake right now. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and check me out on YouTube and Twitter. Night, everybody.